Aren't there some love stories you hear and you just go, oh my God, that touched me? You see those stories? I think that love is actually as beautiful as those stories come. But the question is, what happens when people move to a new country? Like, what is the dynamics that plays for single people who are finding love in a new country, or families and married couples who travel to a new country like Canada? Coming to Canada doesn't mean that you will not find love. I know that so many people are worried. I know that so many people are scared. Should I just go with the option that I have back at home, even if I don't like this person so much? Should I just do this for the purpose and for the sake of, not being alone in Canada? I don't think you should make wrong choices just because you are scared of the unknown, so to speak, when you travel. What I think you can do is, when you come to Canada, first of all, you have to be intentional about making connections. And this is coming from having a good understanding of where you are coming to. This is a place where you can walk on the street for weeks and months and nobody is going to say hi to you. But back at home, it was a bit easy. If you're looking so good and you're dressed so well, you can be walking on the road and people will approach you and just, strike up a conversation, and then you might realize you like these people. But here, that doesn't happen. So it's ruled out. It then means that you would find people when you have the opportunity to make connections with people. But how do you make connections with people? You have to be intentional about it. The way you would typically put up a to-do list every day for whatever you want to do, like serious activities you want to do, that's how you should have a to-do list for making connections in Canada. Because have a to-do list to attend events. There are thousands and hundreds of events happening where you are per time, either on a weekly basis, but there are a whole lot of events. But it's your responsibility to find those events, either through the Meet app, through the Eventbrite app, through invitations, maybe from colleagues, from churches. You just have to show up and make connections. Don't just show up and be a pretty face. Don't just be a pretty face everywhere you go. Show up and actually make connections with people. That is the way to escape the first fear, okay? So yes, because when you begin to make connections with people, I need for you to understand and remember that when hearts mingle, emotions would rise. Interest would rise, but the hearts have to have mingled. You have to have made some sort of connection with people. And how do you make connection when you do not meet people? So you have to meet them first. So you have to make out time to go meet people, okay? Second thing I think you need to do is that you need to be very open-minded. Like, be open-minded. Open-minded enough to make adjustments when it comes to the realities of dating in Canada. For example, there are certain people who naturally do not like to connect via dating apps. For one person, it could be dating apps. For other people, it could be so many other things. It could just be, really random things that you just know that this is how we do things where I'm from, and I'm just going to be myself while I'm here. I think you need to be open-minded enough to learn why people do what they do, why people choose certain medium over the other, why things are the way that they are here when it comes to meeting people. If you know the why, and the why doesn't sit well with you, then you can discard the idea. But if you know the why, and it makes sense to you, and you feel like you can make certain adjustments, then maybe you should go ahead and make those adjustments, okay? For some people, it could be dating apps. For other people, it could just be things as simple as, I've never dated anybody I work with, or I never date people who work where I work. Not necessarily in your department, but just because they work where you work, you do not want to date them. I think you kind of need to be a bit more flexible with some of those kind of philosophies and some of those kind of ideals and some of those kind of mindsets and cultural standards that we came with. Because again, look at it, depending on the company policy, there are certain companies that don't mind relationship among co-workers, right? If you find yourself in such company, and besides, it doesn't even have to be somebody who works directly with you. It could be somebody in another department entirely, where you operate cross-functionally with, and then you just get the opportunity to meet with people and spend time with people. what I'm trying to say anyway is that if you have all of those preconceived supposed ideas about certain things, then it might limit your ability to find people and actually roll with people and actually engage with people and interact with people, just because there's this one thing about this mindset or something that is just holding you back. Okay, so think about it, okay, and let us begin to make the necessary adjustments where possible so that good things would not leave us in this Canada. While you're making this location specific considerations for people, I need for you to retain your standard for love and your vision for your home. Do not shortchange yourself because you're trying to make consideration for others. Insist on your ideals, insist on your values, and insist on your vision for your home. Insist on what you deserve when it comes to love relationships that will lead to marriage. Anyway, now the final thing I want to say here is you need to focus on making people experience you. So in the corporate world, it will be called your competitive advantage. So there are two brands, and both of them will definitely have a competitive advantage over the other person. Now when it comes to our love lives, not to say that it's a competition, but there's something about your competitive advantage. It's that one thing that works for you. It is the very essence of your person. That one thing that works for you, and that one thing that just distinguishes you from every other person. Now, it's not even about other people, it's about you. I don't care what's not working for you as an individual. I mean, I don't care what you think is not working for you as a person, or deficiencies you think you might have as a lady or as a guy that will shortchange you when it comes to the dating pool. But I know that there is one thing that works for everybody. There is one thing I consider my own superpower. I discovered that superpower really early on, and I leveraged it when I was in relationships, and that's why I do not have a record of ever being in a relationship where I wasn't treated well. Matter of fact, I broke up with everyone I ever dated, and until my husband, it wasn't, the reverse wasn't the case. People weren't breaking up with me. I was breaking up with people. Why? Because I knew that I had my superpower, and whenever I'm engaging people, my focus is to get you to experience me. It's usually an experience. Remember that at the beginning, I told you to always make time to engage with people. Make out time to make connections with people. When I'm talking making connections with people, I'm pretty much saying that it is one thing to spend time with someone, but it is something else entirely to make somebody experience you, experience your essence, experience you in all your glory. There is something about making people experience you. And I feel like that is what should be the focus when finding love in a new country where you get to date around and, try to find, know people and then make decisions. Focus on making people experience you. And then while you're focusing on making people experience you, date people with your head. Make sure that while your people are experiencing you, you're also making yourself experience them. And if you experience them and what you feel about them or what you see logically makes no sense for your future relative to your vision, then you can as well just let people be. I have an article on my blog that I wrote about this thing. My focus was on what to do when love is delayed. Okay, when it seems like there's a delay. And I got a heartwarming comment about that article that I wrote. I think I'm going to put it somewhere on the screen so that it's going to make you go watch that or go read that on my blog. Okay, just head on to sessiontotheella.com and go and see what I scribbled down about love and delays when it comes to. And I feel like that article that I wrote is relevant to anyone, whether you are in Nigeria, anywhere across the world, or whether you have just relocated, I think that it applies to everybody. Okay, so go read that blog and leave me your comments. Okay, but for now, these are the few tips that I have when it comes to finding love. I absolutely believe that you can find love anywhere. Love isn't bound by space. Love isn't bound by time, because God is love, and love is ubiquitous. What is that word that we always say in biology? Anyways, love isn't bounded by time or space. You can find love anywhere. Love isn't bounded by any location. You can find love anywhere. And love isn't in colors. You can find love in any color as well. I think it just depends on the people and how much of each other you have allowed yourself experience, and how much you have leveraged your superpower. The final thing, and the very first thing actually, because this is the most important to be honest, is for you to understand that God is the author of love, God is the author of marriage, and God can give you a good spouse. He can totally cause things to align, and then you end up meeting the one. Anyway, I think I'm just in a love mood and all of that, because my anniversary is coming up next week, or like in a week time. And anyways, let's leave that story for later. But all of this love thing I'm talking about, I'm really just trying to let you know God is the author and giver of a good spouse. Trust me, you can trust him, and he can order your steps, and you would find the one for you. Okay? All right, guys, I'd like to wrap up the video at this point. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sessions with Ella. And I'm going to catch you guys. I'll see you in the next one.